Hello and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Video Mastermind, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry, technology, and services to help you create more videos to use in your mortgage business.
So I tell you what, the short video thing, right? The really shorty one, like a 30-second video.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm loving these things. I'm making them, I'm cranking them out, and they're great. Like I did one, and it was, gosh darn it. It was
micro videos, Carlos says.
Is that what they are? Micro video. Yeah, thanks. So it was like 30 seconds or something like that. And I was going back and I was working with Bill on this, Bill Hillstead, right? And I was looking at how it's performing or whatever. I'm like, this is interesting. And like 100% of the people that actually took the time to watch it, right, made it to like 15 seconds. And then it just goes, it just drops like way down and goes off. And I thought, okay, I'll get you. I'll make one that's 15 seconds. Okay. Sure stuff. I made one that's 50 seconds. Like everyone's making it all the way through the whole, through the whole thing. So crafting a message where you can have the problem, the solution, and the call to action in 15 seconds. Kind of a clever thing.
So let's
clever thing to work on.
There's Parker.
There he is.
Parker Couch. He's going to dial in. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you yet, Parker.
You're
muted. Of course.
Hey, y'all. Can you hear me?
There we go. So, guys, I'll introduce you to Parker Couch. And you know what, Scott and Parker, you should connect because you're both in Austin.
Oh, nice. Hey, Scott. Nice to meet you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, too.
And Parker just moved there. Did you move there last year, Parker?
It's about 2.5 years. My wife was born and raised in like Sunset Valley, South Austin area.
Nice. I know Scott moved there about a year and a half.
Little over a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
A year and a half.
Dude, they got
Very
the cool. I'm sure they have more than one, but they have one in particular. Very, very cool music store, guitar shop down there, man. And it's right by this kind of theater thing that they use that theater to do not movies anymore.
Yeah, it's the one next to the Paramount.
Yes. You do events in there and stuff, and it's in a theater. Yeah. It's super sick. And right next to it is this like crazy awesome guitar store, like good guitars in there, man. Like,
well, I remember, I know exactly where the Paramount is. Let me look at a map real fast.
We are all over the place today. Okay, while he's looking at a map, I'm going to introduce you to Parker. So Parker got started in the mortgage industry last September. You passed your NMLS. Is that right, Parker?
2021?
No, so it was, I started, so it would have been 2020, February of 2021 is when I passed. And then I started at Homestar May of 2021.
May of 2021. Okay.
Okay.
And so
coming up on a year.
About a year.
Yeah, that's right. Almost at a year.
On a year now. And you started doing videos, what, September?
Yeah, September I think was the first posting.
All right. So I'm gonna have to find you now on Facebook. I'm curious.
So Parker, were you in the mortgage industry prior to getting your license, and then you got your license to do licensed activities, or was that your cold start in the industry?
Yeah, it was. So kind of, well, yes and no. So my father is a division manager for Homestar, the company that I work for. And so I grew up, I mean, the joke is my dad's been doing loans since the Jimmy Carter administration, which is not far. That's actually true. But
that's a tough time to get into the business.
Oh yeah. That's why he wants to, throw shoes at any millennial that complains about a single digit interest rate.
That's right.
But so I kind of grew up around the business. I moved to Memphis, Tennessee in 2011 and taught for a few years and was an administrator at an all boys charter school in Memphis. So did education for right over 10 years, moved to Austin, be closer to my wife's family, and was doing marketing and advertising for a charter network. And dad wanted to expand out to Texas. And so decided to go ahead and take the jump, and really, really glad I did. Ironically, I actually feel like my job as an LO is a lot more similar to being a teacher than being a principal was for actually being a teacher. So I've really enjoyed that because I miss the classroom a lot. And yeah, so a cold start technically, but certainly had an advantage in that, grew up around it. And then obviously a lot of support from dad. And dad was the one who connected me with Ginger. And really, I mean, I'm like Ginger's Ron Burgundy. I mean, she types it on the screen. I read it out loud. So it's a pretty easy gig.
No, you're Ron Burgundy.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're the brains behind it, Ginger. I just smile and read.
So, and that's the thing. So what Parker's talking about, it, during COVID, when people were like, how do I do video, Ginger? And we started, really unpacking, what do you guys need? The scripts was one thing that came up. And I vacillated back and forth and still do on the scripts. And you've gotten away from the scripts on some of the videos. But for some people, they love having the script. It's like I have honestly some clients that they call it their whoopee. It's like, hey, if I can see it, I can read it, I'm going to be good to go. But it's kind of like training wheels you need in order to get started. And then you get an idea as far as what to say. So you put the script on to your phone, upload it, read it on the teleprompter. And Parker has a background in entertainment, came from a theater background. So he's, well versed at doing that. So that helped. But what I didn't think about when I started creating the scripts was the ability to have someone brand new in the industry who had literally just passed their test be able to record a video and sound like they'd been doing it for a long time, and be able to take those videos and, through Thor's hammer, Carl talks about making those phone calls, say, hey, do you ever have any buyers that don't know the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval? Well, yes, I do. Well, you know what? I just recorded a video about that. Can I send it to you? And then, now you have it on YouTube, you take the link, you send it out. So, and that's what you've done, is being able to leverage that and break those pieces down. So I'd never thought about that when we started creating the content, but it has been great. I mean, as a teacher, and I am an educator, it's like warms my heart. So it's like, that's great because it's able to help you kind of learn at the same time. Right.
Right.
So starting with those very simple scripts and just trusting that, Ginger was writing scripts that were relevant, because you don't have any perspective. You don't have a lot of perspective. What kind of feedback did you get from those kind of videos when you started putting them out?
Great question. So I think initially Ginger was super upfront with, she goes, hey, let me kind of explain to you how you're rewarded by YouTube and Facebook and how the algorithms work, right? The algorithms are going to promote your content, not necessarily based off of the quality, even though you want good quality, but it's consistency. Are you going to be the type of producer who's going to be consistent in the content that you're cranking out? And so she was like, this is the long game. Like, yes, we hope to get you leads right out of the gate, but ultimately, and Ginger, she quoted, and I can't remember his name, but very similar to where he was just super consistent. And after Kyle, yes. Yeah. And it took Kyle a while, but really you're rewarded for that consistency.
To get 100.
Yeah. But with all that being said, I think that, and so that is absolutely true. Like the videos being cross-published on all the platforms certainly are starting to generate leads more so by the day. But for someone who was starting out though with the scripts and kind of reading them vanilla, right, without making any type of modifications, for me, it was really helpful because, like the test is difficult, but it's because you're having to memorize like a bunch of federal laws and codes. It's not really preparing you in the same way as going through FHA underwriting guidelines through a fine-tooth comb. Right. And so
you're not doing videos on Graham Leach Bliley or whatever.
Right.
There's always that section.
Yeah.
Those days are over.
That video somehow got negative views. I didn't know how that was possible, but no. But what I really found it helpful is when I started getting my first few customers, I had enough content. I think one of the first series I did was really around loan programs. So I just made like a very simple email template in Outlook with the links. And I said, hey, we're going to need to make some decisions in the loan program. Watch these 4 videos and then we'll hop on a call. And so right out of the gate, even though it wasn't generating as many leads as it's now generating, and it is generating several leads for me, it was a huge time saver, because instead of me having to burn calories and do 45-minute to 60-minute calls explaining FHA, doing the same stump speech for 50 different borrowers, I could send an email, have them do the homework on the front end. That 50-minute conversation became a 10-minute conversation, which then frees me up to do my Thor's hammer calls, to do my update calls, to go out to lunch. I think that's the thing that's not, so for reading those scripts just straight up, it was just as much a time saver as well as an education piece, which saves you time, as it was anything else at the beginning. And it still is that, even though it's now generating leads.
So that is so fantastic. It's because we're starting to hear this over and over again. And it's exactly my experience as well. That's how I started doing video. And I would send the email with the links, and I would say, watch this, and then let's have a conversation. Another thing that you keep saying, that I'm trying to change this, because I think when we do content marketing, we don't generate leads. We initiate conversations with consumers that already know, like, and trust us. And that is 1,000% difference than a lead, right? A lead form is cold. They don't know anything about it. But by the time they watch your video, they're already calling you, and they already kind of act like they know you, right? And you're having that experience, and they're commenting on videos that you did, like you did it 3 months ago. They're talking to you about it like you recorded it yesterday, right?
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because I've actually, like, 3 of my loans have come from prior borrowers' moms. I had this weird month where it was like I was just doing loans for the moms of my borrowers, and it was hysterical because and they were all from Memphis. But it was like they called me and they were talking to me like they were, like they were my mom. And it's because their kids, who are, in their 20s and 30s, that's all they do, is they know how to watch stuff and consume content. And so they had sent it to, 2 of them were refis, and one was an actual purchase. She wanted to downsize. But no, you're exactly right. When we got on the phone, it was after 10 minutes of them talking to me like I was their, like they were my mom. And I was like, wait, so how do we know each other? It's like, oh, sorry, I'm Jack's mom. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Yeah. So,
Therefore,
I watched all your
mom.
videos.
Yeah, that's right.
That's your new hashtag.
Yeah.
Your
So
mom's LO.
Your mom's LO, that's right.
I absolutely love this story, because this reminds me of another thing that I know I'm guilty of is, sometimes it seems like it's like, well, that's too simple, right? I can't just do a video about this. I can't, it's like everybody knows that. It's so simple. Like somebody like me who's been in the business for 20 something years, like I think, oh, well, people already know what that stuff is. But it's awesome to hear you coming in and talking about some relatively, 101 conversations around qualifying for a mortgage, and how big of an impact that's making. On and especially in so you're finding, are you finding that your audience, where are you putting these videos mostly?
So we're doing cross, and Ginger will probably get more into the technical weeds of that, but I know that we are cross-publishing across, everything lives in YouTube, because you can cross-publish from there. But we're doing Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube.
They're organically posted there too. So it's not a YouTube link. So it's an organic post that goes on to all of his social media channels.
For sure. And the other thing that's been nice too is I've got great content for everything syncs up to Salesforce. And so it's just really great content to kind of have those organic touch points. And it's just so different from, if you think about your typical drip campaigns that happen through a CRM like Salesforce, they're almost always, especially with like your past database, which I know that's a huge strategy that we've talked about here in prior sessions, is about activating your prior database. Well, for me, like I haven't even gotten to my year anniversary yet, so I'm not going to be blowing up somebody who I just closed a month ago about refining, right? Like that's just not going to work. So then, what do those drip campaigns look like to where it doesn't seem like I'm doing sleazy soliciting, but it truly is just like staying front and center. And these videos have been awesome for that. And it takes me like 5 minutes on Monday, just going to my Salesforce. And then I've got a new video, which I already recorded anyway for Ginger. And then it's just an organic touch point with folks with my past database. So that's also been
how are
really
you
cool
presenting
using it.
that to them? Like how do you present it in the email? It's just, hey, I just recorded this video. Not sure if you'd be interested or
It depends on,
or...
it depends on so for example, I'm doing right now, working through, Ginger's got is it an 8 or 9 part series on the actual mortgage process, Ginger? I think it's 8 part, 9 part.
I think there's actually 13, but yeah.
Gosh, but anyway, so it's a great series, and I'm experienced enough now to where I've been able to modify the scripts just a little bit, personalize them. And so for that, as I've been sending them out, the email in Salesforce has been something to share with your friends and family, or something to post on Facebook. But then sometimes I'll do a video about conforming loan limits changing, right? That was a pretty big announcement.
That
News
one
hacking.
was really good. And he went in, and this goes to using your tools. So, Scott's been doing some great tutorials on HomeBot. And so Parker just pulled up MBS Highway and just, talked about when the feds changed the rates. And you were quick on that one too, which I know Kyle has always found. In fact, it's a challenge for Kyle. He wants to be the first person out there with the update video. And so, being able to do that, and it was simply like going on and recording a screen. And I don't know, what did you record that on, Parker? Was it on Zoom? Was it on?
Oh gosh, I didn't have your equipment with me. So I think it was Zoom. I was on a different computer.
Zoom or on Teams. You have Teams at Homestar, so I'm not sure. But it's simple to do. And I know Jeff, who's going to be on next week, he records his on Vidyard. Scott, you do yours on StreamYard. So whatever method you have, you can record your screen at the same time and keep yourself in the video. And so Parker did that and immediately let people know, hey, this is what's going on. So because it was out on the news, people are seeing it, right? So anytime there's something that's happening in the news, you need to be doing something about it. If Dave Ramsey is posting something about it's a horrible time to buy a house right now, you need to do a video saying Dave Ramsey's wrong. It is not a horrible time to buy a house right now. So, those are things, watch for what's happening in the news, which you've done a good job of that.
Well, and also what my experience has also been is that it doesn't really matter what you send to your database. It doesn't have to be a specific message about something that you think that they're going to want to do. Like you said, you got less than a year's worth of clients. And in a rising rate market, you're not going to be pounding them with refinance videos right now, but you stay top of mind and you establish yourself as an expert because you're the one that's talking about it on TV. And there's a lot of validity to, if it's on TV, it must be true. And that translates to computer and phone screens too, because so few people are doing what you're doing. Like you had every excuse in the world to not start creating video, right? Like, what do I know? I don't have all of this experience. Why should I be doing this? You had every excuse in the world to not do it, to not build up your confidence. And we were kind of talking, we talked earlier about the scripts. The scripts are really sort of a confidence builder until you start getting comfortable having that conversation. And then soon enough, especially with your theater background, pretty soon you're pretending like there's a person sitting on the other side of you. So even though video is a one-to-many medium, our actual message is one-to-one because there's only one person watching the video at a time. So you are a very, very interesting petri dish, or more like a chia pet of video production. It's like it was just a few months ago I put water in this thing, and now I've got a huge chia pet going. It's like it's no, it's fascinating. We keep having these stories. We keep hearing these same stories over and over again. And I know my big thing was I always wanted to prove that I'm not unique, right? There's nothing special about me. It's just the fact that I'm talking on video and that I'm sharing my experience. I'm saying I'm out there doing it, and the consistency is everything. You just nailed it. I mean, it seems like such a simple formula that has such a huge mental hurdle for people to get started on it. But I don't know, Ginger, have you ever seen it not work?
I mean, I'm curious though, like, because you bring such a good point, Scott, is like, here he is, he's this new kid, and he decides, I'm going to start doing videos about stuff that I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to read these scripts. I'm going to do these videos. Like, what possessed you to do that? Like, no, seriously, I mean, you get what I'm saying? Like, why? Because Scott brought up a good point. Like, most people don't do that because, you know why? Because they want to know everything first before they even dare. Everybody wants to be perfect. Nobody wants to just start something, but what was it about you? Why were you okay with that? Is it the theater background? I mean, why were you okay with doing video on stuff you don't know?
Yeah. Well, I will say that there was a little bit of, I had no other choice because I was trying to break into a new market, which is Texas, right? Homestar, we're the largest purchase lender in the state of Georgia. We're all over the Southeast, but really Homestar in Texas, it's just me for my lonesome. And so I have enough of a marketing and ad background to know that when you're trying to break into a market and get your part of the market share, you kind of just got to fake it till you make it. But the other piece too is, Ginger is not someone who came from a completely different field and then just Googled stuff and then wrote a bunch of, BS scripts. She also knows what she's talking about too. And that really came through very, very clearly with the scripts. But really, honestly, like the big thing, and this is what I found in my prior line of work with the marketing and advertising I did for the charter network that I worked for, is so much, like not even half the battle, 90% of the battle is just getting content out there and getting content out there consistently. Because you're exactly right. Like if you just go on TikTok or Facebook, you'll definitely see some content, but and this was in Ginger, this was a question actually my wife asked me. She was like, are you nervous that Ginger's company is going to do too well and there are going to be a bunch of duplicate scripts out there? And I said, no. And I said, here's why. Well, one, Ginger's company is going to do incredibly well and continue to do well because she's awesome. But two, it's the same reason why we, ever since like the 1940s, we've had this same boiler like narrative template for Disney movies, right? You're like, how many princess Disney movies can we get? Well, like the answer to that is not enough, because if you have the same script, but you've got different geographic location, you've got a different ethnicity, you've got different songs, it's the same message, same structure, but it's different access points. And so the fact that I'm like this 33-year-old wearing a t-shirt and a hat, and I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm reading a script about FHA versus conventional, you could take that exact same script and have Scott, who might be up in Minneapolis, and he's really, really into Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. Scott, I don't know you, but like that's a community that you have a unique access point to. And so I guess what possessed me to record videos of nothing that I knew about, even though I know a little bit about it now, is I knew that I was going to represent a different access point for folks who maybe didn't think that they had access into an industry that's kind of known for having inside baseball terminology. Did that answer your question? I don't know if I did or not.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah, you did. And I like the way you're phrasing it too. You're a different access point. In other words, I think what you're saying is you're saying, look, I'm this younger guy with a t-shirt and a ball cap. There's a lot of other people out there with t-shirts and ball caps, that are going to get me. You know what I mean? Right. So I'm their access point to getting these mortgages. That's what you're basically saying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting, because you just reminded me of something that I was thinking. I don't know if I thought this up or somebody. But anyway, I was on Facebook looking at stuff, kind of scrolling through, and it really struck me. Whether we like it or not today, everyone is a brand You know that?
Yeah.
We are all a brand.
Mhm.
And you just look at your social media presence and that's your brand. Whatever it is, that's what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so what's cool is you've chosen to embrace your brand. You know
Right.
what I mean? And work with it and work within it and make it even more so a brand, you know,
Right.
by getting out there and producing the content and being consistent. You know what I mean? And you're right. You are an access point for a lot of people that identify with your brand of who
Well,
you are.
that's really it. The like attracts like. You know,
Yeah.
the other thing Parker has, he has an education background. So he was principal for a charter school. That was a pretty, you know, brand new. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies were the ones that chartered the school. So he is not your normal person. He definitely is willing to take risks. But I love your analogy, Parker, as far as having the same content and having that difference in delivery because your teachers, math is math is math is math. I
Right.
mean, there's
Right.
really
Yep.
only one way to teach math. And we all have had good math teachers and we all have had crappy math teachers, right? And so it's the same thing. I mean, it's mortgage, guys. We're all talking about the same thing. It's a matter of putting your brand on it, like you say. You know, Frank, that's exactly what it is. It's you. You are
Well,
it.
Mm.
What you say
yeah.
behind it is nothing. The other thing, and I want to wrap this up, and we're beyond time, so Scott, I'll let you finish up in a
Oh,
minute. But one of the things, Parker, that you talked about that I know a lot of people are missing is taking the link on YouTube and putting it into your database and sending it out. And you talked about you've had 3 moms, okay?
Mhm.
Those 3 moms came probably because you sent that email to whoever you had done a loan with or your friends or
Absolutely.
whatever,
Yes.
and they passed that on to their moms. Now,
Hmm.
here's
mhm.
the thing about what happens. That's what we call transferred trust,
Yep.
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is one of the hardest things to be able to get. And it's one of the most, the biggest compliment to be paid to you is when somebody passes you on. So the fact that you're doing that, Parker, first of all, giving them the opportunity, because if you're not taking that video and putting it onto social, sending it out, texting it, emailing, then guess what? That's completely off the table. If you guys are complaining about not getting any business and you're not doing that, I don't want to hear it. I mean, period.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is they're trusting you to be able to send that video on. So again, back to the point of record your videos, put it into a platform so you can grab that link and put it everywhere because you never know who's going to share it.
Well said.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is the fact that the medium that he's delivering his message in his video, it's so much easier to transfer that trust. So it's literally they could be at a coffee shop. Hey, meet my friend Parker. And that video is almost that intimate conversation. Like
Yes.
the person gets to know who you are. And then the only other thing I wanted to add to this is I've said this for a very long time. There is no competition when you're creating content online because there is nobody else who is you.
I love that.
And we've said this before, there are not 10,000 questions about qualifying for a mortgage. There are 10 questions asked 10,000 ways. So it is impossible for you to exactly duplicate somebody else's content. And yes, it's all the same content. It's just FHA guidelines. It's just conventional guidelines. It's just this, but it's your personality that brings it to life, right? Those are just words. You create a story around it, and then that's how you push it out there. Well, no, Parker, we should get together. We should get together and
I
geek
love
out
that.
here in Austin somewhere. We'll hit Terry Black's up and
You
grab
should
some
Yes.
totally, we
brisket
should
and
totally get together.
We
And
should.
yeah.
Parker's a big ribbon boy too. So we've got some
Love
ribbon
ribbon.
projects we're working on, Scott.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm going to close us out. Parker, thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm sorry for being late. I was going through my
It's, you
inbox
know
like a
what?
crazy person finding that link.
I know. It's like one of those things that I had sent them all out before, so I'm not sure why it didn't get to you, but we're glad you're here now. And Frank
Yes.
actually saw the email saying, I can't get on. Where is everybody?
Thank you, Frank.
I
Thanks for
did. I saw the
communicating.
big capitals urgent.
Let me in,
Parker, I'm like,
please.
I think he's trying to communicate.
And Parker, we will definitely have you on. You know what we should probably do? And I'm just going to put this out here. I got the URL the other day that is called Mortgage Influencer. And I want to start a mortgage influencer group, a panel, a discuss. I mean, I don't know what it is. I was just thinking we need more people like Parker, like Kyle, like our next generation to be able to do just what you're doing right now and be the next leaders. Speaking at public events. I mean, there's every event I go to, I see, I mean, Frank, Scott, it's like all of us same old people that have been around forever. We want to get that next generation going. So whatever we can do to do that, let us know. And so, yeah, Justin's asking for your YouTube link. I'll drop that in as soon as we get done with this. I'll put into our Facebook group. And so, so thank you so much.
Thanks y'all so much. Nice
Thanks,
to meet you,
guys.
Frank.
We'll
Nice to
see
meet
ya.
you, Scott.
You too, man.
Nice to meet you.
Good stuff, man. You're gonna do real well. Just keep going.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Keep going, brother.
Appreciate y'all.
Okay, thanks, guys. We'll
Bye,
see
y'all.
you next
We'll see
week.
ya.
We'll see y'all later.